If you want simple and effective horror, look no further than Tobe Hopper's Funhouse, a movie that I really enjoyed. And why did I enjoy it? Simple. This movie is simple. This movie is basic. It doesn't try to insult your intelligence. It doesn't try to pretend something that it isn't. It doesn't throw a bunch of nonsense in your face. It's not an overly done found footage movie. It's not a poorly constructed haunted house movie. It's just a simple story of four friends going to a carnival. One friend having the bright idea to want to spend the night inside the fun house. These four friends witnessed something they should never witnessed, and now they're being hunted by the Funhouse Barker and his deformed son. That's it. It's basic, it's simple, it's effective, it works, and it's directed by a fucking icon of horror, Tobe Hopper. God rest his soul. I wish he was still alive today, my friend. Man, what can I say? What can I say about Funhouse? This movie is just a fun ride, no pun intended, in general. I like this movie. Like, this movie's got very little flaws to me, and whatever flaws I do have, I think they're reasonable flaws. You know, but I'm gonna get to the things that I do like. What I like the four friends, the four protagonists. I think, even though they don't really have a lot of character development, but the actors do a decent job at making them feel relatable, at making them feel like natural, and I believe that they're actually friends off screen as opposed and on screen, because the actors do an effective job at creating a bond between each other, so that when they start to get hunted down and knocked off near the end of the film, I feel for them and I want them to survive the ordeal that's being presented to them. It's fun. It's great. It works for me. I like it a lot. Another thing I like a lot, the villain. Kevin Conway does a fantastic job as Conrad Stryker, the evil Funhouse Barker. He's just the right amount of over the top, but when he gets serious, and he never really crossed that line of being cartoony either. At least to me, he does not come across as cartoony. He's effective as the villain. He's entertaining as all hell to watch. I like the relationship he has with his deformed son. Or you can tell there's a love there, but you can also tell there's, a lot of resentment there too. Like almost as if he's ashamed that to have a son who's all disfigured from a physical standpoint. But he has a great line near the end where he says blood is thicker than water and he will defend his family if he has to. So there is a love there between the two, and I like it a lot. It makes you sympathize with him to an extent, but doesn't overly make you like, oh, I feel sorry for this guy. No, he's still a creep. He's still a guy who is covering up the murder that his son committed against Madame Zeno, who was a fortune teller at the carnival. And I like that whole scene, by the way. When, Stryker gets pissed off at his son, it's like, you killed one of the family. Never mess with your own kind. Never mess with our kind. Local, whatever, but never ever kill a member of the family. And I like how he has to cover that murder up and blame it on the locals just to protect his son. And that's where you get a little sympathy for this man. A little bit of sympathy. And it works. It makes him a more human character, which is what you have to do in a movie that's grounded in some sense of a reality. Now, this is not a creature from outer space. This is a man trying to take care of his deformed relative, son. And I like it. It's well done. And of course, the actor who played the deformed creature itself, he did a fantastic job as well, because he's in there covered under prosthetics, which were done by Rick Baker, and the prosthetics look amazing. And he's pretty much acting this movie with no eyesight. The mask that he's wearing kind of blinded him, so he couldn't really see, and the actor did a fantastic job. Body language, his physical acting, top notch, good shit. Another thing I like is the production design of this movie. This movie looks fantastic. From a cinematography standpoint, it's really well shot. From a production design standpoint, the carnival looks like its own little universe, and I love that. It's like once these kids buy their tickets and walk inside the carnival, they're into a universe all unto itself, and I think it's beautiful. Tobe Hopper, his shots are fantastic. The way he shoots his movies are great. Kevin Conway, in addition to playing the Funhouse Barker, plays two other Barkers. He plays a freak show Barker and a strip show Barker. and he gives them all their distinct personalities, which I thought was fantastic. And Kevin Conroy to me is the show stealer. However, my ultimate show stealer is William Finley as the character Marco the Magnificent. This is just a 4-minute scene, but within those 4 minutes, William Finley owns it. He gives Marco the Magnificent, is like these little corks. He drinks out of a flask, he smokes a cigarette, he's telling the story about Vlad the Impaler, which segues into the magic trick he's about to perform, and his look is a complete tribute to Grandpa from the Munsters, and I love it. Not only that, William Finley's performance is fantastic, is great as well. He acts like a common guy who is just not fazed by this crowd. He's like, well, we're gonna do a trick here. How about someone from the audience, comes up here? I love it. It almost sounds like he's like a used car salesman a little bit. Those 4 minutes alone, to me, is my favorite scene. William Finley's fantastic. One of the flaws I have in this movie is that I would like to have seen more of Marco the Magnificent, just because I thought that scene was hilarious. And I was like, I want to see more William Finley as this guy. This guy's hilarious. I love it. Another thing that I like about this movie is the overall look of the Funhouse itself. It's got a creepy vibe to it. It's got a very distinct vibe to it. Now, I said the carnival is its own universe. The Funhouse itself is its own little universe inside the carnival universe, which is fantastic. There's like hidden corners, trapdoors, claustrophobic, very few places to run and hide. I love it. I love it, love it, love it. Production design, c'est magnifique. Tobe Hooper's directing is fantastic. It's on point. He creates a fun atmosphere when you see the carnival in motion with the patronage, and he creates this creepy, intense, claustrophobic atmosphere when the four friends are trapped inside the funhouse itself. Again, that's a tribute to Tobe Hooper's talents as a director and a horror director. He's fantastic. It's beautiful. I love it. Old school shit. Can't go wrong with it. My main criticism I have of this movie, two things. There's this whole subplot where Amy, the lead heroine's brother, kind of like goes to the carnival itself after he pulls a prank on her, and it doesn't really go anywhere, and it's just there as padding and filler. I could have done without it. Or, to make it better, I would have had Joey somehow get trapped inside the carnival, inside the fun house, with his sister, and the both of them got to fight their way out. I would have done something to merge those two narratives to make it as one, instead of just having the character of Joey be there as padding and filler. Doesn't really do much to the overall plot. You could take him out of there, and it will be the same movie, so it doesn't really add anything. Another thing, I would have liked to have seen more of the history between, Conrad and his son. I think there's a lot of history there that they could have, they've referenced a couple of things here and there, but I'd like to have known a little more. I'd have liked to have known what Conrad actually thinks about his son after he was first born, deformed and stuff like that. Maybe get a little history about his mother in a way, or something like that. There's a couple little things I think could have fleshed out, the villains a little bit more to make them a little bit more sympathetic, because they don't come across as evil men for the sake of being evil. They come across as people who are doing what they have to do to make sure that they don't go to jail for something that was, done out of a fit of rage. The creature killed Madame Xena by accident. He strangled her because he prematurely ejaculated, tried to get his money back. She said no, and he killed her in a fit of rage. And Conrad has to cover this mess up, and the four friends had to see it, unfortunately. So they're not the nicest people, but it's being done for survival. And I would like to know more history about that, because they did reference a lot of other misdoings that the son had done. I would like to see more. Alright, so to throw in some other stuff before I wrap it up, the score by John Seal is fantastic. It's got a real cool, creepy, carnival-like tone to it, and it fits the film perfectly. Like I said, Rick Baker's makeup effects are on point. So yeah, I don't really have a lot more to say, other that Funhouse is a great movie. It's a good little horror flick, Tobe Hooper's best work, and I'm proud to give it a solid 8 out of 10. If you've not seen Funhouse in a long time, you owe it to yourself to watch it. If you've never seen Funhouse at all, you definitely need to watch it. This is a fun horror movie, and it's perfect for this time of year. Anyway, let me know what you think about Funhouse in the comment sections below. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, and I'll check you back next time for more.